Okay, it's go time. Welcome. Welcome. All right, Tuesday night, April 26th, 2022. This is the Anyone Can Farm live chat. I am your host, Mark, and I'm coming to you from Baker's Green Acres in beautiful Marion, Michigan, where today, right now, it's snowing. Yeah, it's snowing. Not liking this too much. It was another day today of cold. Yep, kind of rough, but it's supposed to be nicer towards the end of the week, but not real great. Let's see. Well, tomorrow it's going to be 41 and partly sunny, and then Thursday 54 and sunny. And it gets steadily better than that. Saturday 61, but no sun. Yeah, we don't have sun again until next Thursday. So it's been kind of a tough spring so far. Today, our subject is starting your homestead, an intimate relationship. That's the title of today's conversation, and the reason that is on my mind is, as I told you, we're going to be working over at Joe's place, my videographer. He is a nomad. Well, he was a farmhand, and then he learned how to be a welder, and he worked at a crane company for a few years and saved up some money and bought a van, and then he and his wife traveled the United States for about 2 years, and now they've come back. She's going to be having a baby, so they're settling in. They put up a yurt. We helped them do that. I told you about that. That was back in, I think, February is when we did that. So they've been living in the yurt for a while, and when you get there, it's a 40-acre chunk of land. It's covered with jack pines mostly. There's some interesting stuff in the back, better trees than just the jack pines that are up front. The soil, not so good, kind of sandy. And all there really is there is a driveway and then the yurt. And he's put a deck on the yurt. So you come out and there's a nice little deck there. He's got some solar cells up, some batteries, and they have lights. We had lunch there today, made me a nice cup of coffee, and his wife made us a stew with venison in it. So they're set up. They're totally off grid, and they're going to stay that way. But we have a tremendous opportunity right now because, as I told you, one of the things I discovered when I was out in Texas, I was talking with Mike Bacher, and he became a nomad. I guess a couple of years ago. So they sold their home and they have a fifth wheel that they stay in, wife and 3 kids, and he's still got a regular job, and but he works remotely. And he was the one that told me that for the nomad community, the next step is the homestead. So we have this great opportunity to help Joe develop this piece of property into an off-grid homestead. He has a job. He's got a job. He's doing the videographer thing, and he's doing really well at it. But he wants a place to stay where he can kind of relax a little bit, got a little space around him. And he wants to create his own food, which makes a lot of sense. And he grew up here, so he takes a lot of pride in some of these processes. I was watching him today building corner posts, and he just gets right into it, But he's built a lot of them here, a lot of them. Him and Sam both. Um, so anyway, we're going to be able to walk through this process with him, which I think is going to be really fun for me. I would love to do something that he's doing right now. Start out with a blank canvas and just be able to set it up any way you want, and have enough funding that you're able to. It would be fun. You can get what you need, and he's in a unique position because he grew up here, so he's got a lot of these skills. When we showed up there this morning, I'm gonna have to shut the door here. Those guys are really banging around out there, really banging around. All right, now I'm less distracted. I can't hear the yelling. Oh, they're doing dishes. We haven't been home all day. Me and the two boys were over working with Joe, so Rachel was here all by herself. So it's a unique opportunity to go from just a blank slate to something really unique. And with the yurt and all that stuff, I think it's dynamite. I mean, his living expenses are quite low. A lot of his food comes from here. Their vehicles are paid for. Their yurt is paid for. So their idea is to just keep their living expenses really low, and continue to work every day. She's an online health coach, and Joe's the videographer man now, and plus he's going to be working for us a couple days a week, just as grunt labor, I guess you'd call it. No, it's not really, not grunt labor. He's quite skilled, so we can. But we see the value in the farm life now, and I've always seen it. But as the world changes around us, the farm life it looks even better. So what we thought we would do is we would take you through the process. So I will be going over there and spending time with him, probably weekly now, and we'll be hammering out some of the things that need to be done and explain why. Now, it could be very. Oh, I didn't enable the chat. Sorry about that, you guys. Okay, it's on now. Nancy's with us. Justin Z is with us, and Dion's with us. Hey, Dion, don't give me a hard time tonight. Don't give me a hard time. No, you can. You should do that. That's actually good. Nobody really does that. Nobody really jacks me up about the things I say, but you guys should, because it gets things going, and the more outrageous you can be. That was pretty funny last night. So, hey, Justin, I didn't get a chance to get a picture of that trailer. It's on my list of things to do tomorrow, and so I will try and do that. I left here kind of early this morning and just didn't. What we had to do is we had to gather up all of our tools that we were going to need to work over at Joe's house. Andy, how you doing? Andy put up a funny post last night. It said something like, "Hey, have you guys listened to this guy?" And then the disclaimer, put the disclaimer in. I don't agree with everything he says. You got to throw that in there, boy. Yeah, because maybe there's somebody that that doesn't like me. I don't agree with everything he says, but I thought that was funny. And I was trying to think of something really outrageous to say, but I didn't get around to it. But thanks a lot for the press. I appreciate it. That's what we need to be doing. We really do need to be spreading this message, because I tell you what, it's not you guys that I'm worried about. You guys are in. You are on it. You are doing the thing. You have the power, right? It's the people that haven't heard this message, and it's just about awakening time, but they haven't heard it yet, and something else could distract them. Hey, you want to go golfing this weekend? Okay, yeah, I'll go golfing. and they'll just miss it. But it really is imperative that if President Biden isn't going to tell us to get our victory gardens going, then it's up to us. I mean, this right here, this is leadership right here. We got Andy, Justin, Dion, and Nancy. We are leadership for North America right here. That's really what it comes down to. It really is. Now, the president should be the one that's saying, hey, looks like there's a storm on the horizon. Let's get this battened down. But he's not. You know, they're planning this. They want to do this. And you can't, I don't think you can have a phone in your pocket and not have heard something about food crises today. It's everywhere right now. Breaking news, I heard just before I went on, Kaz sent me a little thing that said, breaking news, Kamala Harris tested positive for the Wu flu, but she has no symptoms. So she's going to isolate and follow CDC guidelines, and she's grateful that she's vaccinated and boosted. So that old vaccine and, oops, not supposed to say that word. Doesn't seem like it's working out too good. But you know what they'll say? Well, obviously, Mark, it works because, look, she doesn't even have any symptoms. She's got the deadly Wu flu with no symptoms. So obviously, it's because the shot works. Obviously. I mean, trust the science, will you? I could just hear certain people in my life saying that. You know, I could just hear it now, right? And they are really, like Bard said the other day, they are going full retard. They really are with this whole thing. They are just going full retard. And that's good because you know that they're losing control of things. That is milk. I drank coffee last night and I paid. I wound up not sleeping too good. So no coffee tonight. None. I am going to bed early tonight. I was watching a documentary on the couch last night and I woke up with a very stiff neck. Yeah, Jill's not home. So I'm kind of on my own, you know, and it's like, oh, I think I'll stay up and watch TV. That'll be fun. Yeah. Yeah. It's snow is building up on the ground out there. It sure is. So anyway, that's where I came up with this the subject for tonight's talk, because a lot of people right now are saying it's time to get out of Dodge. Got to get me a piece of land and get out. And I think some of the information that we're going to share in this little mini series that we're going to do could be really helpful. When I came here to this farm, there was already quite a few things that were established. They had cleared a lot of the land and got it in grass. We had a barn that was here. It was built in 1900. House was here. There were no fences left. We had to accomplish those. So that was sort of a blank slate. The garden, where we have the garden, there was a lot of junk there that we had to haul out first, but they had garden there for many, many years. So that was pretty well established. You couldn't really tell. It was like, it looked like a hayfield that had just fallen over. There were insulators screwed to the house here. They had electric wire on the house to keep the cows from rubbing up against it. This place was really, really run down, but there were some things that were established. And the reason I bring that up is because when we walk into a fresh piece of property like Joe's, I mean, it is, I walked the property today with them, and there is a tree there that's a hemlock, and it has to be probably 6 feet in diameter. Has to be. It's huge. And, you know, a tree like that wouldn't have lasted if they did clear cut that. And we didn't see any stumps anyplace. So I have a hard time believing that it was clear cut and then this is second growth. I believe that this was original growth. I mean, there was hemlock trees in there that were 2 feet in diameter and were so tall. I just, they just straight and tall hemlocks. They used to use those for ships' masts back in the sailing days. Yeah. Well, let's see what we got here. The dogs come in and sleep under this table now occasionally, and they take all my stuff that I use to put my feet on. I don't have shoes on, so the floor is cold here. Okay, so when we walked on to Joe's place today, one of the first things that we saw was a grove of cedar trees. Cedar is it's a type of evergreen, and you see them a lot of times in swampy areas. And sure enough, yeah, there was a whole bunch of them. And Joe had gotten in there and cut a bunch of posts. And the idea was that, hey, these are here. So what can we do with these? Aha, we will build fences. So that works for the program. The idea here for this homesteader, and not everybody's plan is the same, but for this homesteader, what he's trying to accomplish is to convert a lot of the forage, a lot of the green, a lot of the growth on this property, to convert it into meat for the coming winter. So they're actually preparing for the coming winter. Okay. The soils, when you walk the property, they're not that good. Kind of sandy, a little bit of loam, not that good though, right? That's why there's all that jack pine growing in there. Nothing else really wants to grow. There is some grass, and we'll see. I saw some real long grass, so it had gotten high and dropped over. So there is quite a bit out there for animals to eat. But the first area that we decided to work on was a 70 by 70 pen. So we built 4 corner posts and then built an entryway. You got to be able to get a tractor in there. There is still quite a few trees in there, and they're going to be left and used for shade until the time is right, and then they will come out. Because what will happen is this 70 by 70, we're going to put 3 pigs in it. I just took 3 pigs in trade for a consulting thing I have to do this Sunday. And those pigs are going to go over to Joe's house, and we're going to use them for land clearing, right? So they'll take everything out of there. They'll work everything over. Then we will divide that 70 by 70 in half, and we'll put rye on one side. And then when the rye is up and we think that there's enough there for them to live on it for a little while, we'll switch them over there, and then we'll put this side in rye. Maybe we'll put it in turnips. We'll see. But we're just going to swap back and forth like that and bring up the fertility in that 70 by 70. And then possibly the fences will get moved, maybe. But maybe not. Maybe we'll just leave the fences there and then use that for possibly a garden area. Now, this might take a while. It doesn't happen overnight. And one of the things that I think that we need to talk about when you're setting up a new homestead on bare land is nobody has established anything for you. Like I said here, when I got here, okay, it's already in hay fields. So that's not real. It wouldn't be real smart of me I'm going to tear up these hay fields and I'm going to plant maple trees, right? Because I want to milk maple trees. It wouldn't be very smart to do that. what's here is where I want to start, because in this equation, and it is, everything's an equation, and this is an equation, you know, the homesteading equation, you'll have this, and this equals a viable homesteading operation, right? Now, viable to me may not be what somebody else is looking for in their homestead. That's the neat thing about it. You can set up a homestead and your centerpiece could be a concert area, a place where you could have people come in and they could play musical instruments, and you could have people sitting on the grass, and you could be serving them, you know, tea and wine and all that stuff. That could be your thing, and the homestead would accommodate that, or could accommodate that, if that's what you want to do. At one time I thought, hey, I wouldn't mind doing that. You know, at one time I was pretty chummy with some of the hippie crowd around, and I thought that'd be kind of fun, wouldn't it? But then when I asked the guy to come over and look at it, he was like, nah, I deal with kids all day. I don't want to come over to your house. You got too many kids. Oh, okay. It's turned out to be kind of a nasty guy. A lot of them were, actually, when we got right down to it. So the reason I bring that up is because one of the characters in the equation is time. You really don't have forever. But then on the other hand, Mark, you're telling us this is a long process. Yeah, it is. It's not going to happen overnight. When I got here, the guy before me and the guy before him had already done a lot. The road that I live on is Brinks Road. And the man that settled this and pulled all those stumps out there, was a guy by the name of Ben Brinks. And he was a teamster from Chicago that came up here, and he could run teams of horses, and that's what he did. He just put that skill to work, and I would imagine that he did work for other people around, because not everybody is a skilled teamster, but he was. He was actually he worked in Chicago hauling garbage. That's what he did, according to, well, I guess it would have been his grandson. Yeah, one of the grandsons, or great grandsons, was here with his sister. No, with his aunt, who was the sister, or was one of the children of Ben Brinks, one of the older daughters. She's gone now. She was like 95 when she was here. So we did get some of the poop on the people who lived here. And then one of the sons lived here, and he had it for many years. But his idea of homesteading was, let's let the other farmers around here farm this ground, and I'll get some income from that, and then I'm going to work at a factory in town. And that's what he did. And his name was Ralph, right? And then there was another guy, but he didn't do anything here. He was just he was a retired GI like me, Navy though, and he worked out. He worked off the farm, so he just kind of lived here. And he just let people cut the hay off of it and let people hunt on it and all that stuff. So when I moved in, and I didn't just let people cut hay and just let people hunt, oh, I was the big jerk, right? Because Russ, he even let us use his tractor. You know, I was the big jerk. So anyway, when we look at a raw piece of ground and we see that there are resources there, then that should help form our plan, because you got to have a plan when you're putting together a homestead. You got to have a plan. Doesn't mean that you can't change it, but you got to have a plan, and it can be a pretty loose plan, but you really should actually write down what you want to do. And then, you know, hey, we were going to do this, but We don't want to do that now. So when we walked this property, if I had seen, wow, you've got a beautiful oak forest here, then that would factor in to the capabilities of that property. If I had seen, a maple forest and there was a lot of smaller maples that are under the main top canopy, then I would have said, oh, I know what we're doing here. So however the land is situated is going to dictate what we're going to do to that land, what our possibilities are. And, I've looked at a lot of land now. I've done a lot of consulting, and there are the high points, oh, this is good. You can, and I'm going to use the word exploit, but not in a bad, you can exploit this. This property has very fertile soils. And if you like to grow stuff, hey, you've got it. Well, I don't really like growing stuff. Okay, well, maybe you wouldn't mind growing some stuff for your livestock. Would you mind that? Well, yeah, okay, as long as I don't have to pick it, that's fine. Okay, that we can do that. So there's a lot of different combinations when you look at a piece of property, a lot of them. And I think that if you want to homestead and you haven't got your homestead yet, and you're saying, wow, it's really hard to find things now. I don't think it was ever easy, but yeah, a lot of people are moving out of the city for quality of life reasons. So yeah, there's a little bit of competition for property, but there are some things that are likely to change, and that is the end of farm subsidies. That can happen. And if that were to happen, a lot of this farmland would be unused, right? Because without farm subsidies, a lot of these big farms would just cease to exist. Yep, sad. But that could be on the horizon. But for now, with land kind of tight, money kind of tight, hey, you may have to settle for something for now. And is that a bad thing? No, that's not a bad thing. In Joe's case, this piece of property, I didn't ask, but I would reckon that where it is and the type of property that it is, it's not really fit to do much. You can't do much with it agriculturally. Like the big farms would say, nah, it's way too far away. There's no open fields near it. It's kind of swampy. Uh, Farms would not be interested, and therefore it winds up being what they call recreational property, and that's basically around here. That's hunting property, right? So there are people from the southern part of the state that have enough disposable income that they can make a sizable payment, $1,000 payment on a chunk of land like that. Yeah, that's kind of the way it is. And then they'll go and they'll hunt on it once or twice a year. There's a lot of that here, and that's what this was. It was a hunting property, and my son's father-in-law bought it as an investment, and then he's got an arrangement with Joe, and I'm not sure what that is. Man, I love cows. I love cows. They're the best animal. They are the best animal. They give you milk and steak and hamburger and other calves. They're just a good animal. So, let's see. Yes, you may have to settle for something that is just not flooring you, but that's okay, because what the homestead model is, what it does is we're going to take a piece of property, and then we're going to, through the skills that we've learned and the insight that you get from hanging around people who are also homesteaders, you're going to tease out the value in that property. Great example, me and Jill, we were gonna we had a house in town in Great Falls, and it was a step up from living on the base. It was a step up, but it was still like, nah, we didn't want to do that. Barking dogs constantly everywhere, car alarms going off like for the entire day, just really inconsiderate people, and we just didn't want to continue to do that. We were going to build a pole barn and an apartment in it and live in that on a piece of property. Good thing that didn't work out because we really didn't know what we were doing. It just sounded good at the time. Um, I was still active duty at the time and subject to, having to leave there if I got orders to go someplace else. So it probably wouldn't have been a great idea to do that. And what happened was we found out that Joe was going to have a baby. And so that's not real conducive to building pole barns and apartments inside of them. And so about the same time, we found out that there was a little house that came available on 13 acres, and it was in a place where we had never even gone and looked at any properties. It was in Fort Shaw, Montana, and we drove up there on a Sunday afternoon and had a creek going through it, real nice one. I went swimming in it. It was just a really nice little place, and we said, yeah, let's do this. And it wasn't everything that we wanted. It was kind of small. The house was kind of like a manufactured home. Um, it was clean, and it was, it was suitable and everything, but it wasn't everything. It wasn't everything. And it just so happens that I had qualified for a home loan, and I still own the house in town. Um, that the payment on that house was under $500 a month. It was I was making money by living there, because the Air Force was paying me base allowance for quarters, and it was something like $800, and my mortgage payment was like $500. Yeah, I was not going to live there forever, but it was a place to lay down my head at night, and it was, it was okay. But I didn't want to live there forever, that's for sure. And then when we saw the Fort Shaw property, I was pre-qualified for probably 100,000 at the time, and that property was, maybe Jill is listening, maybe you remember. I think it was 94 is what we paid for it, or something like that. Yeah, it was something like that, 94, and bam, we got it, and we sold the house, um, made some money on it, whatever, I don't know. But the 13 acres in Fort Shaw, we lived there for, I think, 8 years. We made a lot of improvements to it, a whole lot. We put another bathroom in. We turned the garage into a master bedroom with a bathroom. Um, we built well, there was an old granary there that we turned into a bunkhouse. We built a butcher shop. It was just an old building that me and Jill moved to another foundation that was there, and it just fit on this foundation. And it was a building that had burned before. So we made a lot of improvements. We had a really nice garden. I built an irrigation system, and so we had turned everything green around the house, and the shelter belt was really nice and full, and it was looking good. And when we put it up for sale, it sold for 145,000. So we made nearly 50,000 on that. So not anything to write home about exactly, but I made money on the house. I made money on the first farm, and So my point is, like, Joe's got a piece of property right now, and I said to him, "You think you'll build a house here?" And he's like, "I don't know." Like, he's not real thrilled with it at this point. Not real thrilled. He's okay with it, but he is making improvements to it, right? And these improvements are going to take they're adding value to that property. And your homestead should increase in value every year that you own it. It should. Why not? Why not? Unless you are a pig and you run it into the ground, then it will devalue, right? You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. You want to increase. It's an investment, right? So, like we talked the other night about, well, buying a house. What a great investment. No, a house is like a money suckhole, right? Now, there are ways to do it. If you buy a beater in a pretty good neighborhood, and then you fix it up and it's commensurate with the other properties in and around that area, then you've added value to it, and you've fixed it up, you've breathed life back into it, and yeah, you can make some money on that. All right, so let me just say hello here. We got Bryce came in, and Claire Comstead came in. Okay. Hemlock is used in plywood today. Good stuff. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll go through that a little bit more in a minute, but I want to finish up this point. Um, so yeah, we're going to tease the value out of this piece of property. Um, and in doing that, we're going to increase the value of it. So maybe someday you're working on your homestead and it's really not what you want. It's really not in the section of town that you want, but get to work on it. And when you find the piece of property that you really want, then you can make that move, hopefully, and then your property, because you've worked on it and you've turned it into a functional homestead, you shouldn't have a problem selling it. Not in this market. I mean, if you're going to build anything right now, anything, I can't think of a better place to sink your energy, your effort, which is money. You know, time is money. Money is just a measure of the ability to do work. That's all it is. And so if you sink money and your time into a piece of property, it should increase in value. Why wouldn't it? I mean, you got to be kind of smart. I mean, it's not a bad idea. Actually, here's a plug for me. I do consulting, and I've been doing this long enough to where when I approach a piece of property, and having bought and sold a few properties, and now I deal with a lot of homesteaders and more nomads, it's almost like a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. If a piece of property comes available, I can match somebody up to it very quickly. It's like I can, because it's just what I'm doing all the time, and I know a lot of people that are looking for homesteads. I know a lot of people that are looking for bulls. I know a lot of people that are looking for pigs, all kinds of stuff. You know, it's everything is jamming beneath the surface now, even though we're in this economy where supposedly everybody's scared to death that you're going to starve. Of course, you should know that. You used to be scared that you was going to get the COVID, and now you're scared you won't get the COVID. And I don't know, you're going to be scared of something, so you might as well be scared of starving. Get going on your homestead. Your homestead, you should be looking at it like you want to have an intimate relationship with it, right? So when you enter into a relationship with somebody and they want to better themselves, right? They want to get out there and go jogging in the morning and burn those calories off, right? Whatever. You should be saying, hey, right on. Hey, looking good, da 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 da. Encourage behavior that is trying to gain value, right? Gain value. It sounds kind of like, but if somebody wants to go and get additional education, hey, yeah, good idea. That's a great idea. Um, Jill's down getting, see, I'm praising myself here. She's getting down additional education right now. And hey, good. I'm glad. Here's the keys to the car. I'm good. I'm glad she's doing it. And it is a good thing because she's part of this business and she's learning how to do things that are going to enhance this business that we're doing here. And it's definitely a business. All of you that are homesteading, that is a business. It is, because you're going to make a gain. Whether you choose to monetize that gain, that's up to you. You might not want to. You might think, nah, I don't want people coming on the farm all the time. I don't want to do that. I'm not ready for that right now. Look at Declare Homestead. They're going to do a class, I think 2 classes already. One in pastured poultry and one in getting your garden ready. And I'm going. And I got to be honest with you. I'm going because I just want to hang out with the people that are going to go there and the declarers. I want to see their homestead. I'm really proud of what they're doing. So I want to go and be part of that. So if you want to go too, and then we can hang out. I'll use. All right. So you do wind up having kind of a intimate relationship with this piece of property, because as you are moving around on it, all of a sudden you're going to see things and you're going to say, yeah, that'll work for this. Like I was at Joe's today and I said, hey, so where do you think you're going to put a barn if you're going to put a pole barn? And he said, probably right there. I said, well, look at these 2 trees. These 2 trees, they were jack pines and they were alive, pretty good size, up about the same height on both of them. They were maybe 15 feet apart, and there was a crook like this up maybe 14 feet. And I said, you got to put a pipe across there, because this right here is where you're going to dump a load of gravel, and you can be those pigs that go in there. You're going to be knocking one of them off and butchering them right here this coming fall. So we've established a plan. Get some pigs on there, feed a lot of the junk from this property to these pigs, and then use them for sustenance to get through the winter. All your, with the Mangalitsa pigs, all of your shortening is taken care of. Well, let's talk pigs another time, but the pigs will turn this property it's just a tangle, it's just a tangle. And so you have to go through and you have to cut stuff down. What do you do with a freshly cut down sapling about like this that's covered with foliage or buds that had buds on them? What do you do with that? You can't burn it. Oh, you're going to run it through the chipper. Well, that's kind of expensive to do. Throw it in the pig pen. They'll break it down, and they will. One way or another, they will break it down, and then you can centralize it in that pen, and then at some point, touch it off, and keep it a little bit wet. And when everything's said and done, you've got a nice bed of biochar out there. And what are the pigs going to do? They're going to eat it, and then after they eat it, they're going to manure it out every place, and that little 70 by 70 will become fertile. It'll actually be a bastion of fertility. Okay. So we want to tease the value out of the property. And what's the point of view? Do we have a point of view? Well, maybe, but maybe not. I mean, if you haven't been down this road, you might not see some of the things that are there. So again, you know, a shameless plug for consulting. Uh, you might want to get somebody else's opinion on the piece of property too, because they might tell you something about it that you didn't know. So Jill and I are going to go over there someday next week, and Jill is the master witcher. She can find water and she can tell you how deep it is. So then one of the next things that we'll do, and we will show you this too, we're going to drive a sand point. The sand point is it's a well point that usually is about 1.25 inches, and you thread it onto sections of 1.25 inch pipe. You know, you put the Teflon tape on there and everything, and you thread it on the best you can, as tight as you can, till you can't move it anymore. And then you have to drive it. And it can get a little rugged. There's ways that we'll show you how to do it. I've driven lots of them. We'll probably build a tripod over it and then have a chain fall up there so we can lift up a very, very heavy weight and then drop that down like maybe a 4-foot drop, and it would actually have a pipe inside of it. Like, so we have a heavy piece of steel or a heavy piece of pipe that's filled with concrete, and it's got a rod sticking out the bottom of it, and that rod fits right into the pipe that we're driving. So it will guide that weight right down onto it, and then we'll let it go, and it'll drop, and it'll drive it a couple of inches, and you just keep doing that until you get down to where Jill has told us the water is, and then we'll drop a string with a nut tied to it down in, and you can hear it going bloop, 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 and you know you hit it. And then we'll go maybe another foot so we know we're right in it. And then we'll put a hand pump on there. We'll prime it up, and then we'll start pumping some water out of it and see what it looks like. And hopefully the pipe is at the right level, but a lot of times it isn't. A lot of times you have like 6 feet of pipe sticking out. If you go too far, you can go through it, and that's not good, because then when you back up and you come into it, you've just punched a hole and you can lose everything. So as soon as you get water, you better use it. You better say that, hey, that's going to be the water that we're using. Unless, you know, somebody else has drilled many wells around there and they know that, oh, you're going to want to go down to, 60 feet or something like that. We're not going to be driving anywhere close to that. When you drive a sand point, usually it's like 30 feet. That's as far as I've ever gone. Now, maybe somebody else knows more about it than I do, but that's a great process to see. And once we get that done, then we're going to build a water tower out there, because they're going to want to grow a lot of their own food. So the first, like this year, we're going to do some container gardening. They don't really want to jump into a garden. I think that's a mistake. I think they should. If I brought a load of compost over and then we tilled it into the soil, you could get something growing in it, and at least you've got it started. But okay, I don't want to give away too much of what we're going to do. We're going to actually show you. So I am actually going back over there on Thursday to finish fencing it, and you will get to see this, because Joe is pretty good about posting this stuff, and you'll get to see the before and then the after with these 3 pigs in there, and it will be really fun to watch it happen. So let's see if anybody has said anything on here that I can comment on. Oh, good. I'm right in time. Okay. Hit that thumbs up Andy reminds us. Yes, please. Got a few questions from friends. They checked your videos out. Okay. I can do it. I can do some questions now. Driving north in the morning, got to pick up 3 mangalitas, 2 for me and a boar for a friend of mine. Okay. Hemlock is used in plywood. Good stuff. The cleric's with us. Bryce is with us. Keith says, good evening. And tried a little late because I was out moving a bell hay, and breaking into it to feed the goats. Okay, Dion, we brought a modular in all right condition on 10 acres. We are turning it into an oasis. It's work, but it has been fun. Bought 4 years ago for $80K. I don't know if you're trolling me or not. I mean, like, yeah, what of it? No, I know what you're saying. Okay. Canada City Preppers. Hey guys, can't share and repost some of your content. Oh, can't I? Hey guys, can't I? Sure, you sure can. Can tag you also on my social media. Yeah, great. We got quite a few Canadians on here. Canada City Preppers. That guy, I think he goes by City Prepper. He's Canadian, and Ice Age Farmer is Canadian, I believe. On here, Ice House, The Ghost, and we haven't seen Coastal Gardening in quite a while. Maybe he's just not talking to us. Yeah, go for it. If you want to, Canada City Preppers, if you want to, you can check us out on Facebook. It's the Anyone Can Farm Experience Tribe. The Anyone Can Farm Experience Tribe over on Facebook. And that is the place where you accomplish something. We kind of requesting that you post pictures of it for, motivational purposes of other folks. That's the key. If you haven't heard the mission here, the key is to get the word out, and get people educated. If, network, spend time together, learn from each other, things like that, all that good stuff. Right. Oh, Justin's saying he has sand points all over. I pound mine in 12 to 15 feet here until you hit clay. And then you've got water. The water sits on top of the clay. I'm assuming that's what you're saying. All right. I don't see any questions on here, you guys, but we are going to continue on this project so you can see it. We're still going to do stuff here. Like, this is a well-established homestead farm. And so Joe is putting together sort of like a little satellite deal. But I think it's a very unique opportunity that we have because of the ghost is here. Because of my conversation with Mike Bacher out in Texas. And if you didn't hear what that conversation is, Mike was taking a class that we were offering out there for the Homestead Hog Harvest. Okay, and we've been teaching that class a long time, and we do it on the road sometimes. Anyone can farm on the road. And we were out in Texas at Sean Kelly's place doing a hog harvest, and I think we killed 3 of them out there. It was a pretty good sized class, 18 people in the class. And I was eating dinner one night, 3-day class, so we are getting to know each other pretty good by the end of the second day. And Mike Bacher sat down next to me and started, nice conversation. And I found out that he was a nomad, and a nomad is someone who does not live in a house. And in his case, it was purely economic decision. You know, his house wound up in Dallas being worth far more than he paid for it. We didn't talk numbers, but he just said, there's no way I couldn't sell this house. And so he sold it, bought a fifth wheel, nice one too, and pickup truck, and then just kind of got plugged into the nomad community, and they're a tight bunch. I saw him and Joe having a conversation, and they right off the bat they had instant rapport because they've all made the decision to live nomadically, you know, and there's a lot that goes with it. I mean, there's good times, there's bad times, just like anything else, but they have quite a rapport amongst them. And I had said to Joe later that day, I said, that's a pretty tight group, huh? And he says, the tightest, just like that. And I know when Joe's giving me the straight poop. So Mike Bacher said to me that for the nomad, the next step is the homestead. So I mean, life is like a board, right? And you have all these pieces on the board. Our homestead, like I was saying, the centerpiece of your homestead could be an amphitheater, but the centerpiece of our homestead has morphed into educational. That's not where it started. Where it started was chicken tractors, growing pigs, growing steers, butchering them, and getting that stuff into market. That is where we started. We started out with a distributor, and then we went from a distributor to distributing our own, and the rest is history. And now we are probably growing less chicken for sure, more beef than we did before. But I've learned beef. I've learned the beef business a little bit better, and I can keep the balls in the air better than I could before. And now we milk as well. And but the thing that has taken center stage is the educational thing. Why? Because you have all these people that are reacting to the show that we're seeing, the excrement sandwich that has been served up to American people by who else? Our leaders. Our leaders are doing it. And so we're saying, I'm not going to acknowledge you as leadership. We'll form our own leaders. Thank you very much. And we're not talking about overthrowing the country or anything. We're just talking about we'll just do our own thing and ignore them. They're idiots. Most of them are idiots. And especially in a farming operation, a lot of new people come into this, and they might think, oh, if I'm going to be in a farming operation or homestead operation, well, I better check with the Department of Agriculture and see what they want me to do. That is probably the dumbest thing you could possibly do. But you wouldn't know that because you don't have a point of reference. You think Department of Agriculture, they're all about agriculture. Well, they're not. They're really not. They're about control and funneling, getting you in what is known as a sales funnel. They try to get you in a sales funnel. So they get you in by, innuendo saying that, well, if you don't have a license to process chickens, you could wind up in a lot of trouble. So you say, oh, well, what do I need to do to get a license? See, so you didn't even really stop for a minute and question whether this thing that's standing in front of you even knows what they're talking about, right? How are you going to get in trouble if you're butchering chickens without a license? Let me ask another question. What does a license do to get you out of trouble? Does having a driver's license get me out of trouble when I run a red light or something? No. Actually, it puts you on the radar. It says, hey, I'm driving. I got a license. I've agreed to to do everything by this little handbook that I had to take a test on. Yeah, I've agreed to do it. So just listen. If you don't understand what I'm talking about staying away from those wieners, ask questions on here. All right. We have deleted our Wednesday night Q&A. We've deleted it. We're only 4 nights a week now on the show. However, Open Line Friday is going to be the night that my staff here directs people to get their questions answered. We get emails all the time, phone calls all the time with just questions, and we really can't do that, you know. So we will set Friday aside and we'll do Q&A on Friday. It's an open line. I mean, you can bring up other things if you want, but it will be primarily Q&A. All right. Okay. Ghost is in Sawasan right now, working for the almighty buck. Hate it, but it has to be. Just a quick hello. All right, Ghost, good to see you. Inga's with us. I don't know if I acknowledge you there, Inga, but I am now. Okay. All right, well, good. Okay, and this tribe exists. I'm just talking to you there, City Prepper. This tribe exists to support each other, you know, and we do have quite a bit of experience with what we would call the parasite class of people, like your Department of Agriculture and such like that. A lot of parasite at the township level as well, and they like to get involved with farms and, you know, try and push people around. But we can definitely lend some insight on that because we've had plenty of, you know, not me personally with the township. My township is actually some pretty good people, but I have dealt with other people's townships with them, and some real morons, you know, at the township level. And there are ways to exercise your you know, your constitutional rights that really work well for you, especially when it comes to farming. You know, zoning issues. Zoning is really it's per the Fifth Amendment, it does not square, which makes it unconstitutional. You know, a group of people gets together, and then I understand they worked hard at it. I understand they've spent a lot of money at it. However, they don't have the right to tell you what you can do on private property so long as you're not breaking the law. But they zone you a certain way, and they say, well, in this zone you can do this, but you can't do that. And, you know, where do you get off telling me what I can and can't do on my own property? And what if I do it anyway? What are you going to do about it? You know, so they don't have really much for recourse. They may flex their muscles a little bit. You might get, you know, you might get yelled at. You might get a letter from some attorney or something. But, you know, you just gotta buck up and exercise your constitutional rights. You know, your life, your liberty, your property is protected under due process of law. And they're not zoning laws, they're zoning regulations. Townships and counties can't make laws, right? So how is anything that they say got any real validity, especially if it doesn't square with our beloved Constitution? And they may say that they have carte blanche over that, but they can say whatever they want. That doesn't make it true. And you have to know that your Constitution, your Bill of Rights, is the supreme law of the land. And you got to be willing to hit that press the test button. You really do. So let's see if I got anything else here I need to look at. Okay, Ghost is packing it in. All right, nothing really. There's no questions here. I think that's a neat subject because we can watch other folks walk into what they've got going on. Will be really neat. Okay, without further ado, I'm gonna. Whoa, what did I do? Sorry about that. I moved the mouse a little bit. All right, I'm gonna pack it in for the night. Go get myself some dinner, and I'm heading to bed. So we will see you on Thursday night. That'll be a really good night for me because Jill will be home by then, and maybe life gets back to normal. Okay. Remember, anyone can farm.